Hey, and welcome to The Explainer. You know, we've all got that one friend who just seems lucky. They always stumble into the right place at the right time. But what if luck isn't some magical force from the universe? What if it's actually a skill you can learn? Well, that's what we're going to dig into today. Can we really engineer our own good fortune?
So check this out. This quote actually comes from a gambler in Las Vegas talking about his lucky socks. And he was dead serious. He was convinced that the luck juice in his 8-year unwashed socks was the secret to his success. It's a pretty wild story, but, it gets at a much deeper human truth.
See, we all have this fundamental need to feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives. The world can feel so random, so chaotic sometimes. And the idea of luck, well, it kind of gives us a steering wheel to hold on to, even if it's just an illusion.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Luck often becomes a substitute for an explanation we can't see. We know, deep down, that everything is about cause and effect. But when the real cause is invisible to us, what do? We invent one. A lucky penny, a black cat. These are just the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the chaos and feel a little bit more in control.
So this drive for control, it isn't just a vague feeling. It's actually rooted in some pretty fascinating psychological principles. So let's take a look at what's really going on inside our heads when we start talking about luck.
It all starts with this cognitive bias our brains are just wired for, called apophenia. This is our tendency to see patterns where none actually exist. Think about seeing a rabbit in the clouds or connecting random stars to create a constellation. In a casino, this same bias shows up as the gambler's fallacy, that feeling that after a string of reds on the roulette wheel, black is somehow due to hit next, even though every single spin is a totally random event. And this idea connects directly to a really core concept in psychology called the locus of control. It was first described way back in 1954 by a psychologist named Julian Rotter, and it's basically a spectrum that measures how much you believe your own actions determine your fate.
So on one end of the spectrum, you have an internal locus of control. These are the folks who believe their choices and their efforts shape their outcomes. They take responsibility. And on the other end, you have an external locus of control. These are the people who attribute everything, success, failure, to outside forces like fate, other people, or you guessed it, luck. They're the ones always saying good luck, while their counterparts are thinking, I don't need it.
Okay, so with all this psychology in mind, is there actually anything we can do to improve our outcomes? Let's dive into the science and try to separate what really works from what, well, doesn't.
And this is where it gets really interesting. A lot of self-help ideas kind of get lumped together, but the research shows there's a huge difference between visualizing the process of success and just fantasizing about the outcome. One is an incredibly powerful tool. The other can actually hold you back. There was this fantastic study by a psychologist named Alan Richardson that illustrates this perfectly. So he took 3 groups of basketball players. Group 1 practiced free throws every day for 20 days, and they improved by 25%. Makes sense. Group 2 didn't practice at all, and no surprise, saw 0 improvement. But Group 3, this is the kicker. They didn't touch a basketball. They just spent 20 minutes a day visualizing the perfect shot. And their improvement? 24%, almost identical to the group that practiced physically. Mental rehearsal is the real deal.
But just fantasizing, which is really the core of the whole law of attraction idea, it actually has the opposite effect. Studies by Farm and Taylor found that students who just imagined how great it would feel to get an A, they actually studied less and got worse grades. Why? Well, it seems like your brain feels like you've already achieved the goal, which just kills your motivation to do the actual work.
This brings us to the incredible work of psychologist Richard Wiseman. He spent a decade studying people who considered themselves either consistently lucky or unlucky. And what he found was that it had almost nothing to do with random chance and everything to do with their mindset and their behavior.
He conducted this one simple but absolutely brilliant experiment. He gave both his lucky and unlucky volunteers a newspaper and just asked them to count how many photographs were inside. Simple enough, right?
But here's the twist. Hidden in plain sight, on page 2, Wiseman had placed this giant message in half-page lettering. It was just a massive, can't-miss opportunity sitting right there, waiting to be spotted.
So what happened? The unlucky people, who tended to be more anxious and hyper-focused on the task, completely missed the message. Every single one. But the lucky people, who were more relaxed and open to their surroundings, they spotted it right away. The takeaway here is so clear. Lucky people don't necessarily get more opportunities. They're just way better at noticing the ones that are right in front of them.
Wiseman basically boiled it all down to 3 key personality traits. Lucky people tend to be more extroverted, so they're always meeting new people, which creates a bigger network and more chances for good things to happen. They're high in openness, which means they're willing to try new things. And, maybe most importantly, they have low neuroticism. They're just less anxious, which allows them to stay relaxed and aware, just like in that newspaper experiment.
Okay, so if luck is really just a mindset and a set of behaviors, how do we actively start to cultivate it? Let's wrap this up with a practical toolkit for engineering your own good fortune.
You know, the Roman philosopher Seneca absolutely nailed it 2,000 years ago. Luck isn't some passive force that just happens to you. It's that magic moment when your preparation collides with an opportunity. The key is, you have to create the conditions for that collision to happen in the first place.
So, drawing on the work of researcher Max Gunther, we can distill all of this into a simple 4-step plan. Number 1, position yourself. Go where the action is. 2, act smart. Take calculated risks, but also know when it's time to fold them and walk away. 3, be flexible. The path to where you want to go is almost never a straight line, so be willing to follow that zigzag path when a better opportunity shows up. And 4, prepare for anything. Hope for the best, but have a plan for the worst. That's not pessimism, that's just being resilient.
So, when you strip away all the superstition and the magical thinking, the conclusion is actually incredibly empowering. Luck isn't a trait you're born with or some external force you have to wish for. No, it's an active process. It is a direct result of your mindset, your awareness, and your actions. And that really leaves us with a final thought. We should probably stop asking ourselves if we feel lucky. Instead, the real question we should be asking is, are we creating the conditions for luck to find us? Are we open? Are we aware? And are we prepared enough to seize the opportunities that are already all around us?